Hey everyone, this is the Reeldeemers, where we tackle B-sides, the offbeat, and the overlooked. We've worked in and around Hollywood, so we know just how hard it is to get a movie made. This is our space to celebrate cinematic misfits we hope you'll enjoy as much as we do. And today, it's a very special episode about the sweet taste of revenge. So sharpen your Hattori Hanzo swords, because we're talking Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Anglade, and with me is...
I'm Greg Bellavia.
Here we celebrate movies we feel deserve some more championing, maybe a second look, just our space to enjoy and chat. But today, we have a very special discussion as Greg was able to check out Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair in theaters. My schedule would not allow me to join, but I'm so glad and obviously a little bit jealous that you were able to experience it this way. Now, we typically start with our history with the film before delving into its background and setting the stage with its plot. We'll then finish in celebrating the film even further by running through our categories to highlight our favorite aspects. But we're only going to cover a few categories for this episode, as today we really want to highlight Greg's impression of the special presentation. Kill Bill
Spoiler alert, it was awesome.
Nice. Kill Bill is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, and it stars Uma Thurman, David Carradine, Lucy Liu, Daryl Hannah, Michael Madsen, Vivica A. Fox, Sonny Chiba, Gordon Liu, and Michael Parks, amongst many others. The film was shot as one feature film, but broken into two parts during the post-production phase, as Tarantino struggled with cutting down the overall runtime. Per a Variety article in 2003, quote, according to a source close to the production, the idea of splitting the film into two parts started out as a joke, but as Tarantino began editing the pick, the two-part plan became more attractive to Tarantino and Miramax, end quote. The rumor is that Miramax advocated to cut out a good number of action scenes and Tarantino didn't want to. Thankfully, he didn't have to compromise. Kill Bill Volume 1 released in theaters on October 10th, 2003, and Volume 2 released April 16th, 2004. Now, Greg, do you know of this happening with any other film? I know Harry Potter and Twilight did it after, but do you know of anything before this did it?
You know, this is the what comes to mind is I know the 70s Three Musketeers, they were filming. And they were filming and they were filming and they were filming. And the cast was like, oh, this is great, but this is going on a little long. It turns out the director was trying to make two movies out of one movie by tricking them. And it ended up being a lawsuit. It was a whole hullabaloo. The Three Musketeers, then the Four Musketeers were filming at the same time. But that was kind of a shady practice and kind of a funny story. And since then, we've had Dune, we've had Mission Impossible. But no, there's not a ton of stuff I would compare this to in terms of one movie split in half and then released at different times.
Yeah, it was kind of unprecedented at the time. And I think it set the stage for those later films I mentioned, like Harry Potter and Twilight, and then Dune and Mission Impossible, like you said. So even though it released in two volumes, Tarantino still considers it one film. He very famously has said he only plans to direct 10 films, so Kill Bill is the fourth film in his filmography. Now, I am going to ask the question, but let's wait till later to answer now that, Greg, you've seen The Whole Bloody Affair. But that question is, do you consider it to be one film or two? Now, okay. What's interesting is that there are 3 IMDb entries for Kill Bill. There's Volume 1, Volume 2, and The Whole Bloody Affair has its own IMDb page, and it lists the year as 2006.
It played Cannes first.
So why would they list it as 2006?
I think that's when just The Whole Bloody Affair appeared as a thing. So the rest of us plebe.
So it premiered in a theater in LA in 2006?
That's a good question. I don't know why that year of all years. The first incarnation was at Cannes in this form, and then it was cut in half and released as the two different parts.
And at Cannes, it was 2003?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure, but it would predate the American release.
Got it. To set the stage, we don't really need to.
This isn't a full review. This is more of just a reaction. Bride, pregnant, left for dead, everybody else in the church shot. She's hunting down her former gang, which is led up by her lover who knocked her up. All right, it's Kill Bill. You know it. We're jumping in.
Now, Kill Bill is an amalgam of genres and influences from De Palma to Seijun Suzuki and other Japanese gangster films to numerous kung fu films and, of course, Sergio Leone westerns. There's even an anime origin story for one of the characters. I know Greg will be providing us with a laundry list of other influences he picked up on, but the most common way I see them described is Kill Bill Part 1 is a martial arts film reflecting quote-unquote Eastern cinema, and Part 2 is the Western style. To me, viewed separately, they each have their own distinct feel and pace. It's easy to see the separation. So what I, and I'm sure a good number of our listeners are wondering is, Greg, do the two parts come together as one cohesive whole?
Okay, well, I'm going to answer your question with a question. I'll say, what is your impression of the two films, Kill Bill 1 and 2? How do you feel they are?
I love them. And up until I did research for this, I had always considered it two films.
Oh, sure. Well, I think that's a natural response.
And for me, I always connected more with the first part than the second part.
Okay. All right.
Uh-oh.
Same here.
Oh, nice.
And
okay.
I think that's going to be, if there's any real meat of this discussion today, I think that I'm going to call it disconnect, as viewing them as two films versus viewing them as one film. Why? Do you have any thoughts on that? Why do you think you connect more with the first one than the second one?
I do find the first one, the pacing is a bit more urgent, and the action scenes, I mean, there's way more action in the first one.
Yep.
The first part is so fast paced that to slow it down that much in the second part was surprising.
Okay. I'm with you 1,000%. So coming into this experiment, it was, how is it going to feel as one unit versus two? Because that's been my reaction the whole time. I will also say,
that's the question.
I've always felt Kill Bill 2 ended a little anticlimactically. There. I'm not sure if that's a hot take or not, but like considering all the action in the first movie, you know, there's a lot of dialogue. And look, Tarantino, what's he known for? His dialogue. He's great at dialogue. Yeah. So it's not a shocker the film ends on a giant dialogue scene between her and Bill. But with that said, you think it's necessarily going to build to another, because you haven't had that show-stopping action scene like you had with the House of Blue Leaves in the first one. And her versus Elle, that's a really good scene, but it's nowhere near as like how much is happening, all the zaniness in the first one. So I feel like going into the second one, at least for me, it's like, when are we going to get to the fireworks factory? When's there's going to be that giant like blowout? And I thought that was going to come with Bill at the end. We're building towards it. When it wasn't there, I get it. There's plenty of spaghetti westerns. There's plenty of kung fu films. There's plenty of samurai films where the fight can be short. So it's like if he's basing this all on, you know, movies he's enjoyed in the past, and this is a giant love letter to those films, it's not like that's out of place. But comparing to the first one ends on this amazing, like 20 plus minute long, like fight scene. And this one is over very quickly. And I always kind of sat with that. I'm like, okay.
In my research, I did come across that. And I don't know how true this is. It's just what I saw was initially there was going to be this sort of showdown between her and Bill on the beach, right, at dawn, that Bill actually references in that final scene. And I think based on budget constraints and because of how long they were shooting, it kind of prevented them from being able to shoot that scene.
And part of me at the time wished that existed. And I'll say that as a standalone Kill Bill Volume 2, if it existed just in a vacuum by itself, I want that ending. Just to be honest, I would prefer a little bit more of a blowout ending. But, okay, so going into this, it's like, how am I going to feel when they're stacked on top of each other? Is that going to change anything? Or is it more of just like a gimmick of, hey, we're going to play these things back to back? Do you know what any of the differences are kind of going into this?
I don't. And I made it a point not to look anything up because I wanted to hear it fresh from you. And I have my theories, but I have some questions, but I'm hoping, you know, in your discussion, I'm sure you'll answer everything. And I'm really excited to hear.
Okay.
But first, but before you get to the differences, let us know, where did you see it? How was it presented? What was the vibe like?
Oh, okay. This is
set the stage for us.
All right. Well, Quentin Tarantino owns two movie theaters out here in Los Angeles, the New Beverly and the Vista. They're both awesome. They're weird cousins to each other. When you go in, you can tell they're related, but like they each have their own vibe, and I would highly recommend them to any film fans out there. But the Vista showed Kill Bill for a period last month, and everything sold out like immediately. And I was bummed. There was one I was trying to get to, and I just didn't pull the trigger in time. And I was like, damn, I'm just going to have to wait for it to come back around again. And then lucky enough, that had done so well that they added a few more dates and immediately snapped up a ticket to this. And then just told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to be gone for like 5 hours on Wednesday night. So just get ready for that.
Yeah, we should let people know it's a 5-hour affair. And
that's with it. both films back to back are 4, but with the intermission, and the Vista and the New Bev always start with like a cartoon and so just the total package. You were in there for 4.
Right. And that was even a question I had too, that I didn't even know there was an intermission. So that was going to be a question of like, how do they cut it together?
And I've heard that the reason why it hasn't come out yet on like any sort of disc is it's kind of special this way. And Tarantino can run his movie at his theater and people can make it out here and there. And again, if you want to buy Kill Bill 1 and 2, you can do that. But this is kind of like it's a special experience. I believe this is the initial cut. This is what they showed. The French subtitles were burned into it. So this is from way back when. This is the OG that he'll pull out to show people. I think that's neat. And I love being able to access cool material 24 hours a day. But there's also part of me that appreciates having to travel for something. And look, maybe I'd be giving a different version of this story if we found out there was a New York screening of like the Shoemaker Batman cut and I couldn't go to it. I'd be upset.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of there being rare things in this world. And I think it's cool that he does this.
And was it a film print?
Yes. Yeah. Everything at the New Bev and Vista are filmed. They ripped it. From what I heard, they ripped the digital projectors out, and it only plays on film, which I love. So like,
yeah,
he's a film lover. Too. As if you couldn't guess that from this movie itself. So I love that he owns the two theaters.
Yeah. And then so was it a sold out screening? Where was it packed or?
This one was packed. It wasn't quite sold out. There were still some aisle seats, but it filled in nicely. And also it'd been playing for a couple days. So to get that type of crowd for that long of a film during a weeknight, that's awesome. So it's doing very well.
And was the energy in the theater amazing?
Yes. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like I had Letterboxd mutuals who caught the one last month and they were like, this was a religious experience in the theater. And I'm like, I'm a little jealous of all these people seeing. So there was an electricity in the air. There was also some younger folks, so I'm not sure, was that anybody's first time seeing it? I'd be curious if it hit anybody cold. So
that'd be amazing. I would love to hear from someone who had never seen it and then only saw the whole bloody affair. That's amazing. I'm so jealous, but I'm so excited. Let's get into the differences. And what did you pick up on? You already mentioned that the subtitles are already burned in. Yeah. What are the other special things that,
well, I guess
that us normal people who aren't able to watch it?
Look, I don't look down upon other people who have not seen the whole bloody affair, but all right. It's Greg and Andreas in the future. Greetings. We're not going to give you too many spoilers about what's happening here in the wide, world of the United States in the weeks that have followed, but it has now been announced that the whole bloody affair is getting a wide release. So we're excited for you listeners to get a chance to see it as well. I do love gatekeeping a little bit. I did like the idea of it being at the Vista. You have to travel for it. But I suppose it's great that now everybody can see what an enjoyable film this is.
Yes, it's a win for us normal people.
What do you think the differences are?
So in rewatching the volumes, what I picked up on is at the end of volume 1, there's a few clips. They're almost like teasers for volume 2. There's the clip of Bud saying that woman deserves her revenge and we deserve to die. And then you have a couple other ones where it's she must suffer to her last breath. How did you find me? I'm the man, with Bill and the bride outside the church. Those are all from volume 2. So I took that as teasers for part 2. So I would think in this whole bloody affair, you wouldn't have those in there in that scene. And then the other thing I picked up on in watching volume 2 is it feels like the intro of her driving was shot later on after they decided to turn them into 2 volumes. I mean, one of the questions, again, working in post-production, I have to think about this because it's part of my job. I was wondering how the credits worked, because you have that great credit sequence in volume 2 that plays over the black and white footage of her driving. So I'm wondering if that whole scene is even in the movie. That was it for me. And again, in my research, who knows how true this is, I had originally heard that Tarantino wanted the film to begin with her driving. So I don't know if that's a part of it either. So that's kind of all I know and my assumptions on what the whole bloody affair is. I did not look anything up. I wanted to be surprised and hear it from you.
All right. Well, you are 2 for 2, my friend, because you are right. The teaser for the next movie does not exist. It goes from her threatening Sophie and telling her, tell him everything I'm telling you now, and Bill with Sophie cutting back and forth. And then the next movie starts with the wedding rehearsal massacre. So you don't get her getting shot in the head again, and you absolutely lose her driving in the car. And spoiler alert, I never liked her driving in the car. I get why it's there. I get Tarantino jumps around in time. It's in Pulp Fiction. It's in here. The movie starts with her, already having killed Oren Ishii. You can see on the list that that's taken. So we're already playing around with time. Her driving in the beginning of the second part is so, hey, I've taken care of these other guys. I'm on my way to see Bill. I'm like, no, I wish I didn't know that. Now, the name of the movie is Kill Bill. Obviously, she's going to have a showdown with Bill. I know. I don't need that scene there. And I was thrilled to have it gone in this verse. So you were right. It was put in to explain kind of a quick summation of where we're at.
It felt like that. Even watching that, I remember being in the theaters when I saw it, and I was lucky enough to watch both volumes in theaters when they came out. I remember it feeling like, oh, this is kind of tacked on. And that's not a bad thing. It didn't bother me that much. It was kind of a fun, almost gave it a little bit of a noirish vibe, which the rest of the film doesn't really follow. So I could see it feeling a little disconnected from everything else, which it kind of was for me too, but it didn't bother me as much.
It's not like a deal breaker. I mean, if that's stuff that's really upsetting me, that's ridiculous. But it's like a smudge. That's how I'd put it, where it's just like, oh, I don't know if I love that. And then like having it gone, I was like, oh, great. It smoothed it out. I felt bad. But again, to your point, there's a reason why that material was at the end of the first one. There's a reason why that material is at the beginning of the next. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, of course, you're just trying to set the story. As one complete film, to me, it played better losing those parts.
And how long was the intermission?
15 minutes.
Nice. So did it feel, even with the intermission, and I did get a text from you during the intermission, you sent me a great photo of some swag and other cool stuff they had on display at the theater, which you'll have to describe for our listeners. But even with the intermission, did it feel like one cohesive film?
Okay, so I'll knock out some of the other differences and we'll get into the verdict. So
Okay.
Kill Bill Volume 1 started with a revenge is like a dish best served cold, old Klingon proverb, like a joke. This one loses that. It opens with a dedication to director Kinji Fukasaku, who had died recently at that time. The big ones. The giant fight scene at the House of Blue Leaves, it's in color. They never cut to black and white.
Wow, that is
Hence,
big.
The whole bloody affair. So there's gushing.
Did he do that because of MPAA ratings? Do you know? Okay, That makes total sense. Because I remember the initial teaser had that amazing shot of her running up the banister. That was in color in the teaser. So then I remember watching the film that switched to black and white. It was surprising, but I get it in terms of making sure the MPAA is good with it. And how did that feel with it being in color? Did you like that more? Obviously, it'd be more visceral with that amount of blood gushing everywhere.
There's something I'm going to get into. And again, I don't want to be like, no, I caught this screening that other people can't see. Honestly, 1-to-1. They're both awesome. I think black and white style, that sequence is so stylized anyway that having it turn black and white and coming back into color, and like you have a background up right now of when like the lights go off and it's got like the blue background. I never didn't like that. But having it in vibrant color, it was awesome. I mean, it's a great sequence. So it's like it was welcome. So I wouldn't say better or worse. Better only in that there's no censorship involved, if that makes sense. So if you did it because of a censorship reason, it's nice to have censorship gone. I've read that there's more gore in the Oren Ishii animated backstory. Honestly, I'd have to go back and watch them like next to each other. That didn't feel any different. It had been a minute since I had seen that sequence, but like I'd read that there's a little bit more like blood spray. Okay. So I'd say no huge difference there. The other one that really stood.
So sorry to interrupt. You had mentioned the background I have on, and for those who can't see my background, it's the sequence where they have the different colors and everyone's in silhouette. Was that different in the whole bloody affair? Did they keep the silhouettes, or was that okay?
The only difference was the black and white portion is colorized and you see that red vibrant blood everywhere.
Okay, cool.
With Sophie Fatale in the car, you see her chop her other arm off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's big. That's crazy. It lives up to the name, the whole bloody affair.
So in the original, you hear her kind of the cries and screams while she's with Bill, but they don't show it. In this one, it's the same kind of cutting back and forth, but as she's threatening, she pulls her arm out and just lops it off with the sword. So you've no mystery there. And then part 2, yes, they cut the beginning off. There really isn't anything different other than kind of jumping into the story. But the biggest difference, and the one that makes it's tiny yet huge at the same time, there is no cliffhanger line asking if the bride knows that her child's still alive.
Oh, wow.
Because you don't need a cliffhanger if you're not going anywhere.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. You don't need it. It is a great cliffhanger line. But then
What happens is you have no idea.
No idea.
She has the kid. And when she walks in, you're surprised with her. So it totally changes how that last scene plays out for the audience.
You had mentioned that there are people in the theater you think maybe are seeing it for the very first time. And now I'm so curious what their reaction to that, learning that far into the film that the daughter's still alive. Basically finding out with the bride character.
So
I think that's a great addition, or omission, I should say.
No, I agree. I think if there are two movies, having the line there is crucial because I think it gives the ending of the first one a great punch and you want to come back for more what's about to happen. And here, you don't need it. And then like the surprise of her walking in and that her discovering her daughter for the first time, I think it lands harder if you're experiencing this over the course of 1 4-hour period. So I respect the choice in both places, but one little line makes a whole bunch of difference about the emotional, how much it's going to hit you there. Because the other one is, once you know that, Kill Bill 2 is, I believe Kill Bill 1's around 1 hour, like 55 minutes or so. And I believe Kill Bill 2's 2 hours, 17 minutes. You're spending a long time in Kill Bill 2 with that information just hanging out in the back of your head, not really doing anything, waiting for her to finally get there. So taking that away and having it be a surprise, I think makes it stronger, to be honest.
I agree. Not having seen that version.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's awesome.
You can play both movies back to back. You can squint your eyes and kind of get around the parts that we're talking about. If you don't think the end of the first one with the flash forwards or the beginning of the second one with the wrap up works, I mean, those are quick moments. They're going to be over. Then you essentially have the viewing experience isn't that much different. But was it cool seeing them back to back? Yes. And do I think playing it like this made it stronger? Honestly, yes. And I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be reaching. I got this theory is like, I like a lot of long movies. And is that almost Stockholm syndrome where you're willing to sit through something by default on the other end of it? Are you going to have to give it credit to justify the amount of time that you've spent with it? I've wondered that with some longer things. Like, do you cut it some slack that maybe you shouldn't be cutting it? And that is not the case here. Going in, like, this time flew by. 4 hours, like, I couldn't believe it was intermission. Then I couldn't believe it was over. And having the House of Blue Leaves fight sequence as part of the same movie as part 2, and it's just one thing, I do think that lands better. Because I think if they're taken as standalone entries, 1 and 2, part 1 has one of the greatest fight scenes ever put to celluloid, and part 2 doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's how I phrase it. I love her. I love Bud's sad life. I love her getting buried alive. I love her training sequence. I love her bond with Bill. Like, Uma Thurman and David Carradine are great. It's packed with things that I like, but it does not have that show-stopping fight sequence. And like that's always gonna be the case.
There's no other fight scene that compares to that scene in Volume 1.
But if you make it the same movie,
and it's the scene in the movie, I will say though, I did get a finer appreciation. The Elle bride fight scene in Bud's trailer on this rewatch, I liked it so much more than I remembered. Mm-hmm. It's a great fight scene. That being said, like you touched on, I probably was always comparing it to the scene in part 1. I'm waiting for that show-stopping scene like we had in part 1. It's fascinating to think like, oh, right, as one cohesive film, that House of Blue Leaves fight is the showstopper in the entire film. And you will not need to one-up it anywhere else in the film.
That's it. And I honestly got that. And I wanted that to be the case. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm projecting onto it, but like, I think because it's there and you're like, wow, and the audience is like spent, now we can just kind of move on into the rest of it. And that's it. And the other thing is like on this watch, Tarantino's like great at writing. He's great with direction in general. The action is the Blue Leaf sequence, like all timer. Music choices, fantastic. What he's pulling from his inspiration.
Yeah.
Maybe casting is his best skill because who he puts into these roles are not even necessarily. David Carradine, great career, kung fu, been around the block, but to head up a film like this, especially Tarantino, as popular as he was, and I'm going to call in somebody to play Bill, the titular Bill. Carradine is great. He's really great here, and seeing him play off of Uma Thurman, I appreciated that more on this rewatch of the second one. And maybe I could just kind of put my preconceived notions of it not quite living up to part 1 before. Part 2 opens on their exchange at the church. Then you've got them bonding, while he's playing the flute and telling her the story of like Pai Mei and like their history. And at the end, so much rests on the two of them. I was able to just kind of like relax and just enjoy the ride with them, just kind of having this back and forth. So going back to the end fight, whereas once I found that anticlimactic, here as just the end of this long ordeal, it fit a little better. So I think it finally landed for me better coming off of that part one. So it was one complete, because she's exhausted by this whole ordeal. You, the audience, are tired by this whole ordeal. You've sat through so much.
There's a moment, we have a category, obviously, of our favorite shots. And I had texted you, I think mine's going to be like 8 pages long because there's so many fantastic shots in this film. In both films, we still haven't answered whether it's one film or not. The shot of when Elle receives a phone call from him in the hospital, and it's just a shot of his hand toying with his Hanzo sword, and you hear his voice. Even that, it's just his hand, but there's so much character. And Tarantino's so good at adding mise en scène, right? In terms of setting up everything about a character within the frame. Just Carradine's hand gives you enough that you know so much about this character. You referenced it, the scene where he sees the bride outside the church. It's the first time he's seen her. Well, he's found her since she disappeared. And she doesn't really know if he's going to play nice or be a bad man. And he says he'll try his best to be sweet. He's never nice. And there's a moment before the massacre where she goes in to kiss him, and she actually kisses him twice. And the whole time you're kind of thinking, oh, he might be telling the truth. Like he might actually try to be sweet, but you can tell when she kisses him, he doesn't react at all. He doesn't move his lips to kiss back. It's just so stone-faced and cold. And you just know, oh shit, he is angry and doesn't want any part of this. And then that scene ends with that amazing pull-out shot from the bridal party out through the church door, and you reveal the Viper assassination squad. The rest of them just walk up and just walk into the church. It's so good. I know I'm getting ahead of ourselves in terms of talking about shots and moments, but David Carradine, and I honestly was not as familiar with him. I had never seen the TV show Kung Fu, which it seems like everyone knows him from that, and I haven't seen a lot of his films. So for me, he was someone new. I obviously knew of him, but I hadn't really seen him in much. You're blown away by his presence on screen.
Let's take a look at this gang of assassins. We've got Vivica A. Fox, Daryl Hannah, Lucy Liu, Michael Madsen. Okay, they've all had great careers, and you might associate them with like dramas, maybe a crime film, comedies, that type of thing. But an action exploitation flick? I don't think so. And one of Tarantino's gifts is finding these offbeat choices, plugging them in, and they work perfectly. And they're great here. They're all great here. Where I kind of want to go from there is just Uma Thurman is amazing here.
Amazing.
Between being put through the ringer, emotionally devastated, emotionally elated, the physicality of the role and the different fight scenes, I don't know if there's a Tarantino character who's more fully realized than her. Look, I know I love John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in Once Upon in Hollywood. Everybody's got their favorite like moments, characters, I do not think anybody reaches her level. That's my personal, I'm not sure if that's a hot take or not, but that's why, like, to me, his two best films are either this or Pulp Fiction. And I know there's Inglourious Bastards defenders out there. I know there's Jackie Brown people. The beauty is, like, the man's never made a bad movie and we can debate it. But watching it last night, I'm like, it is either this or Pulp Fiction. This is so good.
I had the same reaction rewatching it. I was just like, God, there's not a bad moment in the film. There's not. There's just not. Except there's one thing with casting. I'll say it. As a Hispanic man, it kind of bothers me that Michael Parks is playing Esteban a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, especially since he's already had a role.
Yeah.
Second, but do you have to double dip with this guy?
That didn't bother me. The double dipping. I mean, he does it with Pai Mei and the head of the Crazy 88s, but maybe get a Hispanic actor for that. But I'm willing to overlook it because the rest of it
was the crazy early aughts, man. We were all.
The Crazy 88s are Yakuza, but Onichi's half Chinese, half Japanese. So the leader of the Crazy 88s could be Chinese. I don't know.
I like how you just phrased it.
But there was a long time that I considered Volume 1 my favorite Tarantino film.
That would have been that or Pulp Fiction for a long time. I just changed it. It's this or Pulp Fiction.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, was there anything else you wanted to bring up in terms of the screening or the?
No, hot crowd, a lot of fun. If you're in Los Angeles and get a chance, you should do it. Again, this isn't to make anybody feel, envious. I mean, you can do a virtual version with parts 1 and 2. Just cut the first one off a little early and start the second one a little late, and you're mostly there. But I appreciate it back to back. I wouldn't say that about just any two films, but it was like a magical experience to have it there. And like again, the time literally flew by.
Any references you want to talk about? Because I'll be honest, because I hadn't seen them in such a long time, the De Palma influence is all over this. I mean, that hospital scene to me, where Elle comes to kill her, that's all De Palma, dude.
No, absolutely. And I mean, also, this is what a wonderful, I mean, that's Tarantino. What a wonderful love letter to film. But he's somebody who like clearly loves it, puts it into the films. It's all of his inspirations. He's reimagining them. The end credits, like he was shouting out like directors that like influenced him. And like, he's also like, he's finding these people and he was putting these people's like films back out. And just you can tell that like, he lives this. To me, this is the epitome of that. Like if God, the universe, whatever, put Tarantino on Earth to make a film, I think it's Kill Bill. And I know there's Inglourious Bastards, people who would say it's that one. There's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that would say that. I get that, but just with, to your point, all like the visual influences on this. If we went back and forth on all the influences, this would be a 5-hour long podcast. It'd be awesome because they're all great, but at the same time, just rapid fire stuff that jumps out. We've got Game of Death, There's the Bride in the iconic Bruce Lee outfit, 36 Chambers of Shaolin, Death Rides a Horse, Thriller, A Cruel Picture, the works of Sergio Leone, the works of Sergio Corbucci, which I love Tarantino calling out in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's such a great shout out to another wonderful director. But this film would not exist. The grandmother of all influences on this one is Lady Snowblood. And if you haven't seen Lady Snowblood, everybody, I would highly recommend it. Her theme song appears in the film, Flower of Carnage, sung by the star, Meiko Kaji. And just to give you an idea, Lady Snowblood is a revenge story following a woman who has a list of people she needs to get revenge upon. It's split up into chapters. It jumps around in time. At one point, it tells the story using images from the manga it's based on. The way the blood sprays is eerily similar to this one. One of her targets ends up being a broken down alcoholic, and she ends up encountering like the children of the people that she's tracking down. There's so much happening in this film and all the different things we've mentioned here and things you can look up, and there's videos on YouTube and that type of thing. But to say this is a riff might be unkind, I'm not sure. But like Lady Snowblood is on Tarantino's mind 1000% here, but he makes it his own thing.
Yeah.
Obviously there's kung fu, exploitation, samurai, spaghetti western. Yes, that's all there. Lady Snowblood is the blueprint.
Seeing Lady Snowblood, has it changed your opinion on this film?
That's a really good question. Watching them so close, it is like, oh, what? Because I saw Lady Snowblood like 10 years ago. Classic. One seeing on the big screen is always going to color my opinion a little bit. Watching them so close together, it is like, oh, okay. Like I could tell, but he does such a good job filtering it through his own stuff. When Tarantino first popped on this scene with Reservoir Dogs, a lot of people were like, he was inspired by City on Fire, the Chow Yun-Fat film. Oh, he stole things from City on Fire. Then when you finally saw City on Fire, it hit you in a completely different, oh, yeah, there's a couple of things that are similar, but you don't feel the same things. It's a different story. Here, even though it shares many of the same DNA strands, they're two totally separate animals. Lady Snowblood is missing that Tarantino dialogue we like. All those performances that we kind of called out earlier. The sense of humor present in it. Lady Snowblood, not a ton of laughs in that one. So yes, it's an inspiration, but this is such his jam. He 100% makes its own thing. I would never call this a ripoff. It's an inspiration. That's what it is. The first thing that pops into my head for this is Night of the Living Dead. People love Night of the Living Dead. How many rip-off zombie movies are out? And it comes from a place of love. People just want to make a horror movie, but they don't transform it into anything new. There's a ton of just like, that's a Night of the Living Dead clone. And that's lovely, and I love people just expressing themselves creatively. Tarantino takes something he loves and he's able to transform it into a completely different thing of his own nature. And the soundtrack, I would put this soundtrack up against any of the other ones. And not to say they don't have their moments, but like wall to wall, just wearing its influences on its sleeve and putting it together into this formation that nobody, like this is, and having it 100% be a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
He's putting it together in a way that only he could. Even if Pulp Fiction's my favorite, and I go back and forth, I think this is his most Quentin Tarantino movie out of everything.
I think he's throwing everything that ever influenced him in his life, he's throwing up there on the screen.
And it's welded to Uma Thurman giving a fantastic performance.
100%. Yes.
And even the credits at the end, it's Q and U. It's credited to Quentin and Uma. So it's like, so it also to give her flowers for her like influence on it as well. She absolutely deserves it. But like, I always knew she was good in this. I always loved part one, but watching it like last night from just like, man, she's acting the hell out of this. It's a fun movie. You know, this isn't Oscar bait, and to still like hit those emotional beats in something where there's a pussy wagon or an animated sequence or like fun, maybe not the most serious things in the world, and she still brings the heart to it. That's big. And like, I know this is like film school 101 observation, but she starts the film as the bride and she ends the film as the mother. As a parent, that simple through line, I was like, yeah, you want your kid to have the better life than you did. And even like, she loved Bill. She never didn't love Bill, but it'd be better for her daughter if the daughter was not around this lifestyle. And that, from the decision, that landed more for me last night than it's ever landed before.
That's awesome, man. One question before we get into categories. Is Rufus, the organ player from the church, actually Jules from Pulp Fiction using a different name?
I hope not.
After he's walked the earth.
Oh, that'd be sad. I hope that's not the case.
I came across this theory in research and I was like, oh, I want to hear Greg's take on this.
That's a sad thing. I mean, maybe. Do you know who in this film meets their final fate in another film?
Well, the sheriff.
Yeah. Earl McGraw bites it in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, and wasn't he also, was it Planet Terror? Or was he in Death Proof? One of the Grindhouse films, right?
Planet Terror. Yeah. I do like that actor, even though I know to your point, maybe, not the most culturally sensitive.
Look, I'll say this. Even playing that man, it was an amazing performance.
And quick, I mean, I'd be remiss if we didn't call like Sonny Chiba and Gordon Liu, great. And like one, again, I say love letters to these actors and characters that he enjoys. And also, I'm charmed by their performances. I really enjoy them in this.
They're both so good. And what they bring to the screen is phenomenal. It's so good.
I'll even say, before we jump into categories, Street Fighter clips making their way into like True Romance, the gunfight from the end of A Better Tomorrow 2 being in there too. Watching Tarantino movies made me want to seek out like the stuff that he was watching. So it's not just I'm enjoying this, but it just became this ever expanding. I wanted to get into the same influences that he had. I don't necessarily feel that with some of his other films, as great as they are. So I think this one just being this lodestone for like all of his influences, and then you can take that and run with it to like different places. The Female Prisoner Scorpion series, I had not seen that when I saw this movie like over 2 decades ago, which is crazy to say, but I've seen it since. And when her theme song plays over the credits, like that gave me chills. So it's like, it's also something you can return to after you've seen some of these influences and be like, I see what you were doing there. Awesome. All right, good job. So.
Oh, that's great. I mean, there's so many little Easter eggs and things. And I did come across a few YouTube videos that go over the Easter eggs. And I was just like, unless I pick them up, I'm not going to mention them, because if anyone's interested, you can certainly find those online.
Sorry, one other thing, just because we're here. There is a deleted scene of Bill getting into a fight with Michael Jai White.
I was going to ask you, did they put that in The Whole Bloody Affair?
No, they didn't. And I think that's interesting. I don't mind it not being. It's funny, as much as the second one doesn't have as much fighting as the first one, having seen the scene, it's fine. I mean, I like everybody involved. I don't think it's really needed anywhere. So I don't mind that not being included.
Agreed. It's fine.
It's the idea of showing Bill's prowess is interesting, but you don't need it. And I don't miss it now that it's not there.
No, you get enough of how dangerous of a man he is. You don't need a scene to spell it out for us. Okay, let's get to categories. Our categories. We use this part of our show to highlight our favorite aspects. We're only going to cover a few because we were just too excited to talk about Greg's experience. So Greg, favorite scene?
the House of Blue Leaves fight. There's nothing like it in Tarantino's career. That almost feels weird because Tarantino's so known for his dialogue. Not to say there's not like great dialogue sprinkled throughout it. I don't like he's had other great action sequences throughout his career, but like this is like next level. And also, it's long. It's a long. I mean, so you almost might want me to cut it down and just like it's so long. It's like, do you like the part where they're backlit? Do you like the part with Go-Go? Do you like the part where she's having the showdown with Oren? To keep the audience in the palm of your hand for that long, her selling it, everybody, I love her buried alive. I love her getting out, being able to punch her way out and the music kind of soaring. I love all of her scenes with David Carradine. There's a lot to love here, but that's my favorite. What about you?
I would have said that, but for some reason, this rewatch, it's the Oranishi bride fight in the snow.
Yep.
When that song kicks in, the Santa Esmeralda's flamenco rock version of Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood,
yep.
The white backdrop of Oren, and she's dressed in white, and the bride in her yellow jumpsuit, and then the yellow lights in the club windows behind her. The staging, the blocking, the mise en scène, everything about the scene is A+. And then I love that the music stops on a moment when Oren slashes the bride on the back, yep. And it gushes blood and she falls to the floor. And for a second, you do think maybe she's dead. Then Oren has a great line. Silly Caucasian girl likes to play with samurai swords. And then she says, you might not be able to fight like a samurai, but you can at least die like a samurai. It's so good. I love that scene. I love that scene. But I can't knock the fighting inside the club. It's brilliant. And like you said, there's no other scenes like that. Are there any other scenes you want to highlight? I mean, there's so many.
Her getting buried alive, I went with a friend when it first came out, and that really bothered them, the sound design, just because of how well put together it was.
It's so good. The sound design there is incredible.
And seeing it again, it's like, that's a great, I mean, it delivers exactly what you want. And then her punching her way out. And again, like I said before, the music swelling behind her, like that would be my number two, but just, I'd be lying if I said The House of Blue Leaves wasn't my number one.
Yeah, I mean, even I guess the second part of the Crazy 8, like when the rest of the Crazy 8 army shows up, you hear the motorcycles coming and the footsteps, and then she's surrounded. And I love that moment where she uses the blade, the reflection of the blade to check what's happening behind her. Oh, it's so cool. Another scene that stood out for me that I hadn't really thought about until this rewatch, when the bride is looking and admiring the Hanzo swords. Like she has such reverence for them and she's in awe of a master. And it's such a good demonstration of just how important the particular steel that she needs made.
Well, I've said it before, the Ebert quote, it's not what a movie's about, it's how it's about it. This is very straightforward. A wrong person wants revenge against their own gang. But it's the little Tarantino touches like that scene and like allowing it to play out and Sonny Chiba like watching her and the whole thing. You're into it. And he plays the audience like a fiddle very well when it comes to that. And not a lot of that's why there's so many Tarantino imitators, but not a lot of people could just get to that level, if anybody. He can go on digressions and they work. And for other people, they don't. And there's just some magic there.
I just have a question for you. Why does Elle kill Bud?
One, I just don't think she likes them. I mean, just I think she's just a cruel person. Two, I think she's offended that he got the kill on the bride. I think it was a professional, like you piece
That's
of
true.
Also, I love handing the movie over to him for like 10 minutes. Here's this loser. Let's follow this loser.
It's
like
so it's just so unexpected. Like that's not what you expect for that character.
And like Larry Bishop as his boss. Like, are you telling? I can even do my Larry Bishop impression. Larry Bishop's directed 2 films. He's had an interesting career. He's so good. Again, casting Larry Bishop in that little role makes it very memorable just for chewing out Michael Madsen for like a couple of minutes. It's great. No, I think it's the how dare this alcoholic,
steal my thunder. Steal my kill. Another scene I want to give a shout out to is that classic scene of Oranishi entering the club with that awesome song, Battle Without Honor or Humanity. Anytime you hear that song now, you think about that scene.
Mm-hmm. Also, it always gets your blood pumping. I can hear that 100 times. And it gets going.
It's such a good moment in the film.
I have a newfound appreciation for Bill confronting the bride at that wedding rehearsal. Again, I always liked all that stuff, but I think there was just something about part 2 just didn't strike my fancy the same way part 1 did. And this one I was really able to kind of lean into it. I love, because it's going to end badly. That's already spoiled, is everyone there's going to die and she's going to get shot in the head. But it does a beautiful job just setting it up and keeping the tension. And also, what is Bill like? who is this guy? Maybe he's more charming than we were expecting. Uma Thurman being awesome wasn't a surprise, but I have a newfound appreciation for that in this one. David Carradine to me, every scene of his, I was like, man, this guy is just killing it. So I think that's across the board, but that scene jumped out to me more than it did in the past.
We really haven't mentioned her name a lot, but Vivica A. Fox. She's not in a lot of the film, but she definitely makes an impression. And that fight scene in Serene, Pasadena is fist-pumpingly good.
I'm so glad you mentioned this. Because she's not in a lot and she's out of the film fairly quickly. She's awesome. And again, this goes back to the casting note we made earlier. Not a huge role, but she brings a ton to it. And I think she's a very versatile actress. I always love when she pops up and stuff. I thought she was great on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm not sure if you saw
Nice.
like when she was heavily featured. She's very funny. Again, like I think Tarantino and then the performers, to their credit, are able to make the most out of like not having a ton of screen time, but she makes a hell of an impression.
But that's such a testament to how good Tarantino is, because even without that much screen time, you can get such a great sense of just who this character is. So there's one last scene I want to discuss, but before we get there, there's one scene that I honestly didn't even remember before this rewatch. It's the scene in the hotel room with the bride and Karen Kim
Yeah.
when she finds out she's pregnant. It's such a quiet little scene in this movie, but I mean, obviously there's some violence, but still, it's such an emotional scene. And you had already talked about how superb Uma Thurman is in that scene. She's so good.
Also, it's like that's conveying information to you, but it's funny. Like it doesn't end with them getting killed and like there's little congratulations and like
Yeah.
that's the Tarantino touch. That wouldn't be in your normal revenge movie. So that's one of the charms of this one is you can incorporate that and it feels so natural.
Yeah, it's just the button of her saying congratulations and then walking off. I love it. Okay, the last scene I want to talk about, and I had mentioned it before, it's the Elle bride fight in Bud's trailer. Phenomenal scene. The bride takes out Elle's remaining eye, and the way she reacts reminded me of another movie, Greg, and it is one of your favorite movies. Did you pick up on this?
I did not pick up on. I'm going to be 100%. Okay, so he was talking about my beloved Blade Runner. I did not put that together till this viewing. Like the flailing around,
Yeah.
and just like the agony is very reminiscent of Pris in Blade Runner. And I know shame on me for not. I guess maybe I was just caught up in the film before, but this was the first time I was like, oh, I see what you did there.
And Pris is played by
Yes, Daryl Hannah. I
Daryl
will say,
Hannah. Yeah.
I don't think she dies.
That's great too, because in the credits, and I have to ask you, I know it's in the opening credits of Volume 2, her name pops up and there's a question mark written over it. How did they handle that in the whole bloody affair? Was that a question mark in the beginning?
Not in the beginning. I don't. Let me think about that. I don't remember seeing that.
Okay. So my question after that scene is, because we see that shot of the Black Mamba on the floor, do you think the Black Mamba ends up killing Elle?
I think Elle's too wily. I think you could do Kill Bill 3, where it's Verdita Green's like daughter trying to hunt her down, and the big reveal will be Elle, maybe 2 eye patches or sunglasses or whatever, has been guiding her. Somehow she got out of that.
Oh yeah, she's the new Bill.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I think in my heart, Elle makes it out of there one way or the other.
Yeah, you're right. It would just have to be a reveal in a Kill Bill 3, which might be called Kill Bill 2.
Yeah, okay, well played.
Favorite shot?
This one's almost impossible. I'm gonna gut check it. You had done the church where it pulls back. That one's great. I'm gonna go with the one that got the most like in the theater. Like I caught my breath where she goes out to confront Oren in the courtyard because she pulls the door open and then there's this snowy like you've had this giant bloody battle and where is she? And she pulls the doors open and there's this beautiful snowy courtyard where they're about to have this like sword fight. Look great on the big screen.
Oh, that's awesome. 2 quick shots that I always thought about since the first time I ever saw the films. The first one is several sunglasses on the dashboard of the sheriff's car when he's pulling up to the church.
Yep.
I don't
go
know
at a moment's notice. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I love that shot. And then the second one, that's not my favorite, but just one I remembered. When we see the bride on the airplane, she has her sword with her. Like it's a carry-on. I just love how
Yep.
normal it is. And then even when she lands in Tokyo, there's a shot of her walking, and you see other people in the background just casually walking around with their swords. I
Yep.
love that. But no, mine is one I mentioned earlier. It's the bride running up the banister, then jumping off, doing a 180 midair to slice another dude who actually lets out a Wilhelm scream. I remember that from the trailer. It was one of the shots that got me excited to see the film, and I just love it. The last shot I want to talk about. It's such a simple shot, but there's such a beauty to it. It's Bill standing in front of Bud's trailer, and we see his car behind him. And that car looks so fine, right? It just looks so cool. I had to look it up. I thought it was a Pantera. Now, I'm not the biggest car guy, but I've seen Panteras before, and to me, that's what it looked like. But it's not a Pantera. It's actually called a De Tomaso Mangosta.
Oh.
And mangosta means mongoose in Italian. And the mongoose is known to kill snakes. And the code names for all of Bill's assassins are all snake names: Black Mamba, Copperhead, Cottonmouth, Sidewinder, and California Mountain Snake. I thought that was a cool little touch.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I honestly had no idea. And then I decided to look it up because I was like, well, what does mangosta mean? So I looked that up and I was like, wait a minute. And the reason the car was called mangosta or mongoose was they wanted it to compete and take out the Ford Shelby Cobra. So
That's
I thought,
cute.
yeah, I love it. I thought that was cool.
I don't think there's ever going to be a podcast where I can bring this up, but just speaking of mongooses.
Okay.
Did you as a kid ever watch in class Ricky Tikki Tavi? The animated?
No.
It's a like a half-hour long animated kids film about a mongoose protecting its family from two cobras trying to kill them. It's for a kid, it is badass. I have no idea the nutritional value to children of this. I don't know why I was shown this, but I vividly remember sitting in class and be like, this is awesome. This is great. It's a family film, Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Amazing. I mean, I feel like I've heard that name, but I had no idea what it was about. So are we doing an episode on that?
Maybe I definitely want to watch. I want to. Should I show my kids a film where they? I have to do some soul searching with that one, but not sure where else to drop that.
Okay, t-shirt quote. If you're able to even choose one line from this film, because there's so many.
That's fair. It was tough, but I gotta go again. The one that got me in the theater. Those of you lucky enough to still have their lives, take them with you. However, leave the limbs you've lost. They belong to me now. And there'd be like a hand on the poster. There'd be a hand on the t-shirt.
It's such a good line. I have one. It was said by Hattori Hanzo, so it's in subtitle, but it's still a pretty badass line. If on your journey you encounter God, God will be cut. My runner-up was Bill saying, there are consequences to breaking the heart of a murdering bastard.
Yep.
Kill Bill. All right, well, we always like to end our episodes with a crew shout out. Who would you like to highlight?
I'm going to do Kevin Berv. He handled props and they worked on Spy Kids, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
I mean, props were amazing in this film.
Well, the Hanzo swords. I'm not sure how much they had hands on what, but like that just popped up. I'm like, yeah, that works.
Oh, it's amazing. Do you know, have they worked on a few other Tarantino films or?
More Robert Rodriguez film.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. I want to shout out the music supervisor because of how amazing the music and needle drops are, Mary Ramos. They did Pulp Fiction, pretty much all of Tarantino's films since then, including From Dusk Till Dawn, all the way through Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And they also did A Walk Among the Tombstones, Spotlight, and All of Us Strangers, which is an underrated film that I really like. Greg, do you have a favorite or a couple of favorite Tarantino needle drops? And for those who don't know, a needle drop is when a commercially released song is used as opposed to score. They can also be called source cues, and Tarantino is known for repurposing score. Do you have any favorites you want to call out?
You name checked my favorite one in this one, the Santa Esmeralda's Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood during the Oren Ishii fight. You're already in. Also, he's held you in the palm of his hand with an action scene for like 20 minutes, give or take. And to keep getting your blood pumping, you have to kind of keep throwing things. And like that comes in like the perfect time. And like also an inspired choice. So I love that here. Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon from Pulp Fiction. Again, I just think you fall in love with Uma Thurman. And also Uma Thurman, iconic, the dance scene, Pulp Fiction. Like she's not in the entire film. You know,
Yeah.
she's in one very famous segment of the film, and I think you completely fall in love with that character. And I think that that part of like just that song sells how cool she is. Reservoir Dogs like stuck in the middle with you. I mean, also what a great coming out of the gate mission statement of how good he is with needle drops. Like the soundtrack to that one is like off the charts, wonderful as well.
It's such a good soundtrack. I mean, for me, I would call out Little Green Bag in Reservoir Dogs where the guys are walking in slow-mo. It's such an iconic moment, too. You know, I already talked about Without Battle or Humanity that plays when Ornishi enters the club. And like I said, it's a classic moment that everyone thinks about when they hear that song. A couple others I want to mention and that I just absolutely love. I mean, you already mentioned the Santa Esmeralda, but that was in my favorite scene. So I'm not going to talk about it again. But two others I want to just give a quick shout out. There's Unchained, The Payback, The Untouchable by James Brown and Tupac from Django Unchained. It's when Django's finally getting his revenge in the end and just shooting things up. I love that scene. I love Django Unchained. Honestly, it's up there as one of my favorite Tarantino movies, too.
That's one of my favorite. You know, hot take, or do we still have listeners at this point? Are we all going to be of his later period films? That one's my favorite.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Yeah, I find Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so rewatchable, but Django is just so good. Another one that many people love in Inglourious Bastards is his use of The Verdict by Ennio Morricone from The Big Gun Down. And it's used at the beginning of Inglourious Bastards when Londa arrives up to the house in the countryside and the guy's chopping the wood. The daughter who's hanging the laundry sees the car coming up. It's such a great use of that score.
Putting Out Fire with Gasoline by Bowie in that one, that might be my favorite moment of the whole film.
Really?
Where she's getting ready.
Oh, wow, nice.
I was not anticipating Bastards is a weird one for me. Maybe that's like a later discussion. That is like the most I am into her as a character getting the revenge quest. When that song kicks in, that really sells it to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could go on and on with his needle drops and use of score. So I think we've showcased a good amount. All right, Greg, is this one film or two?
You know, all episode long, I was like, oh, they're two separate things. You know, it's like it could exist in either state. You know, I'm going to go in. It's one movie. It's one movie. It's one movie they cut into two movies, and they cut it into two movies well. I'll say that. It's like if you've only experienced it as the two, that's great. But I think they work better when placed back together.
Nice. I think I'm going to go with it being one film as well. Just after this rewatch and listening to how you experienced it, and I really want to experience the whole bloody affair. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to come over to your place and you can give me the Bella Via version of the whole bloody affair. I want the swag. You have to mute the sound when Bill says the teaser line in volume 1, and then you have to skip the credits at the beginning of volume 2.
You're like fumbling with like 3 different remotes.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to do the burned in French subtitles, but I have faith in you.
I got some time, you know, so.
So I'll have to do that. Okay, before we go, tell us about all the cool swag you saw at the theater.
You know, they had a great shirt, and it's been a minute since I've been there now, and I'm still like, it was a little pricey, but then I've been out and about in Los Angeles, and I've seen people wearing it since then. I'm like, God damn, I should have bought that shirt. And then they had, I believe, prop swords. I don't think they would have put like the real deal. Maybe it is his theater, but they had Bud's sword on display.
Wow.
Some of the clothes. Again, I'm not sure if they were official or just kind of prop, you know, like leftovers, but they had like some of the bride stuff in there. They had some toys, some action figures. They had a pussy wagon like van. They had an old VHS tape. They had posters. A nice little just display of all this different swag that he's probably compiled over the years. But also a very swaggable film. You know, Jackie Brown. Yeah. I love Jackie Brown. Maybe not the most swaggable film in the world, but this one, very swaggable.
And were all those things specific to the whole bloody affair or just Kill Bill in general?
Kill Bill in general.
Okay.
The only thing, I believe the shirt spelled out whole bloody affair.
You should have bought the shirt, dude.
Should have put shirt. Maybe it'll be for sale at this, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. And do you know, is this run done or will they keep showing it at the Vista?
I think this run is wrapped up. They're already making way for the next One Battle After Another, the new Paul Thomas Anderson one. Ton of screenings there, which I also need to see. But we'll see. We'll see. And if people get the chance. Oh,
awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair.
And Andreas, you'll come with me next time.
I need to come with you next time.
All right. Talk to you soon.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you everyone for listening to the Reeldeemers. If you enjoyed what you heard, please support by leaving a like or review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram. If you want to reach out and send a comment, you can email us at reeldeemers@gmail.com. Our music is by Adolfo Delanoy. You can check him out on Instagram at Adolfo Delanoy. That's DELANNOY. Thanks again and be safe.